and the state representative for District 112 has a part of Dallas, Richardson, Garland, Sunnyvale, Sexy, and Rowlett. And I'm a proud immigrant, legal immigrant from Taiwan. First, let me thank each of you for attending today's event. And I also want to thank this wonderful Ben Franklin Apothecary for hosting us. Hey, listen, 4 years ago, I was just like you in the audience, and now I got a promotion to do the introduction. How about that? But don't worry. My introduction is going to be short and sweet, just like myself. Okay? This gentleman worked so hard, and we work so closely together to make sure Texas remains the best state in America. Just last session, we worked together. We proposed an amendment to the Constitution to make sure that we give homeowners property tax relief. Hey, I know because I'm the key sponsor for the SJR 2, and you're going to vote for that in May to get it passed. Is that right? This gentleman, well, by the way, I happen to be the chairwoman of international relations and economic development. So personally, I know how hard this gentleman worked closely with myself, my colleagues, in order to recruit, attract, and grow business, big or small businesses in Texas. So Texas, hey, do you know that we are now have created jobs, the highest job numbers more than ever in history in Texas? Do you know that? So let's give a big hand. Okay. Now, who is this gentleman? It's my great honor to introduce my dear friend, my hero, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott.
Howdy, Duncanville! Great to be back in my hometown. As we know, Duncanville is the city of champions. So for those who don't know, I lived on Cherry Street, which is a few streets over and a few blocks that way. I'm not too far away from where I grew up as a kid. Duncanville helped make me who I am and a better governor for the great people of the great state of Texas. It's great to be back home. Listen, while I'm here, I want to thank the person who introduced me, Angie Chin Button, whose district is on the other side of Dallas County. If you're from that neck of the woods, be sure and vote to re-elect Angie Chin Button to the great Texas legislature. Listen, I want to be here because early voting has already begun. How many of you have already cast your vote? There you go. Tomorrow. Why wait? Why wait to do tomorrow what you can do today? It's on Collins Street, right down the road, is it not? Where you can go early vote. Is it right here? Look, right there is Faith Johnson. Faith Johnson, give it up for Faith Johnson right here. So she's pointing the way. You can lead a parade down So Faith Johnson is running for Dallas County District Attorney. She will not let criminals out on the street like the current district attorney in Dallas County. But let me tell you something. I'm here to make one thing abundantly clear, and that is when all the votes come in after you go cast your votes and after everybody else goes and cast their votes, we are going to ensure that Republicans win up and down the ballot in 2022. And I'll tell you the reason is going to be very easy, and that's because we're going to show the difference between Republican values and Democrat values. And Democrat values today are far different than they were when I lived in Duncanville. Back then they were Democrats, and then they were liberals, and then they were progressives. Today we are running against socialists who are trying to destroy the state of Texas. And we are not going to let big government socialists destroy our great state, because we're going to win in 2022. We're going to win because of one of the things that Angie Chin Button talked about, and that is job creation. Texas ranks number one in so many categories. We are been ranked the number one state as the best state in America for doing business every year that I have been your governor. Every year that I've been your governor, Texas has won the Governor's Cup that goes to the state that ranks number one in America for the most new economic development projects. Texas is the economic development project engine of the United States of America. But just as important, listen, one thing we understand, and that is so many of our businesses, actually a majority of our businesses in Texas, are small businesses just like the one we are in today. And so, yeah, go Ben Franklin. So when I was here, speaking of Ben Franklin, when I was here, I actually worked at the other Ben Franklin over on Wheatland Road at the time. You remember that? Anyway, because small businesses are so important, we spend so much time and support for them. And I'm proud to tell you, as we gather in Duncanville today, Texas ranks the number one state in America to start a small business. When you add all these things up together, there's some amazing stats I want you to know about. One is that over the past 2 years, Texas has climbed the international rankings for our economy. The Texas economy now is more than $2 trillion per year, and we used to be the 10th largest economy in the world. As we gather in Duncanville today, Texas now has the 9th largest economy in the entire world. But what does that mean for you, the people of Duncanville or Dallas County? Tell you what it means for you. As we gather in Duncanville today, more Texans have a job than ever before in the history of our great state. I mentioned this to you because remember what I told you before. We have these radical leftist agenda folks who are trying to crush those jobs, especially in the oil and gas sector, with this Green New Deal that they are promoting that would destroy the energy sector that employs maybe more than 1 million Texans. We are not going to let the radical leftists destroy those jobs, because I am running for a re-election to ensure that we protect energy jobs in the great state of Texas. But listen, it's not just jobs. It's also education. The radical leftists have an agenda. They are using their radical leftist agenda to try to reframe what they do in educating our kids. You know, we're supposed to educate our kids, not indoctrinate our kids. When I graduated from Duncanville High, I had some tremendous teachers who taught me what I needed to learn to go on to college and go on to law school and go on to be your governor. Now these kids are being taught something that redesigns the past and redesigns the future of America. It's called critical race theory. And critical race theory is wrong because you cannot rewrite American history. But even worse than that, the way critical race theory is, they pit people on the basis of color and then try to have people fight against each other on the basis of the color of their skin. That is un-American, but also is contrary. It's unconstitutional and contrary to what Martin Luther King Jr. himself taught us, and that is we are to be judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. That is what America stands for. So during this last regular session and then during a special session, I signed 2 laws that bans the teaching or use of critical race theory in every subject, in every grade, in every public school across the entire state of Texas. Texas now has the strongest ban on critical race theory of any state in the United States of America. Listen, you all know I went to Duncanville High School. I'm a big supporter of our public schools. I went to public school my entire life, and there is no governor who's provided more resources for our public education than I have. But that said, at the end of the day, we need to come to grips with the reality, and that is there is no government program that can replace the role that parents play in the education and health care of our children. Sure, I went to Duncanville High and got a great education, but my mom and dad, they were heavily involved in my education and also involved in the health care decisions that are made on behalf of their kids, which is more important today than it's ever been. And that is why I am running for re-election to pass a Parents' Bill of Rights that restore parents as the primary decision maker for their children's health care and education decisions. The most dangerous of these radical leftist agenda items, though, is the way that these leftists, like Beto O'Rourke, okay, I apologize. I got it wrong. People, leftists like Robert Francis O'Rourke, came out and they want to defund police. How crazy is that? Look at every community or state where they have defunded the police, and you see more crime, whether it be Los Angeles or San Francisco or Portland or Seattle. But who said that? Yeah, so even here in Texas, there's always one city that always has to be different, and it's always Austin. Even Austin, Texas, defunded the police, and what do you think happened? What happened is the crime increased last year. Austin set an all-time record high for the number of murders. Defunding the police cost people their lives. Well, by God, this is Texas, and we're not California. In Texas, we support our law enforcement officers, period. So we passed a law that I signed that ensured that we would defund any city that defunds police in the great state of Texas. And after I signed that law, it was sure fun watching the city of Austin scramble to come up with more than $100 million to refund the police. That law required them to refund the police they had defunded to make sure they're going to start keeping Austin safe. But as dangerous as these defund police policies are, I got to tell you, there's something else even more dangerous that these radical leftists, that Biden is doing, that Beto supports, and that is these radical open border policies they've imposed on Texas and America. It's a total disaster. It didn't have to happen because President Trump did 4 simple things that led to the lowest border crossings in decades. 1, he implemented the Remain in Mexico policy. 2, he implemented the health care policy, the Title 42 policy. 3rd, he ended catch and release. And 4th, he began building that wall. All that Biden had to do was keep those 4 things in place. But not only did he get rid of all those 4 things, Biden has opened up the border to the entire world and said, world, come on in. And there are people coming in from more than 150 different countries, including terrorist-sponsored nations. The president has an obligation for national security. He has abandoned that obligation by having open borders, allowing people in from terrorist-sponsored nations, as well as the cartels smuggling drugs and things like that. I just got through with an announcement in Fort Worth where we were talking about how deadly fentanyl is. And we had parents there who lost children because of exposure to fentanyl. Get this. Today, people of the age group between 18 and 45, the number one cause of death is not COVID, is not cancer, is not car wrecks. The number one cause of death for COVID of that age group is fentanyl. It's deadly, it's dangerous, and it must be stopped. And what we're doing in the state of Texas to both stop fentanyl, to go after the cartels, to go after the drug smugglers and the human smugglers, Texas taxpayers are spending more than $3 billion for Texas to secure the border, and that includes deploying more than 10,000 members of our great National Guard who are manning the border as we speak right now. Give it up for the Texas National Guard. And we have more than 1,000 Texas Department of Public Safety officers, and they are making arrests of people who are coming across the border. This past week, we opened up our second jail where we're putting into those jails people that we are arresting coming across the border illegally. And then on top of that, now Texas is building our own border wall to make sure we secure our state. We keep adding more and more panels every day. They're called panels. It's the same wall that you saw President Trump put up. It's 30 feet high. They come in panels, and it takes a while to lift a crane up to get them all the way up. But we put panel after panel every single day to make sure that we will continue to secure our border. I am running for governor to make sure we have a governor who's going to secure our border as opposed to someone like Beto who would work with Biden on open border policies. We cannot tolerate that. We got to make sure I win this re-election. But listen, as important as safety is, you need to understand that freedom itself is on the ballot this election year. Look at your freedom of religion. I went to church just down the road when I was living here in Duncanville, Texas. And I know that this group is a group of godly people. You attend church also. Amazingly, a position that Beto has taken is that he would defund by eliminating the tax-exempt status of churches that refuse to bow down to the woke radical agenda. I will not let that happen in our great state. To the contrary, I signed a law to make sure that we would prohibit any government official at any level from ever closing down our churches, denying you the right to go worship God Almighty. So freedom of religion is in the First Amendment. What comes after the First Amendment? And what did Beto say about your Second Amendment rights? Well, hold on. It depends on what day of the week it is, because when he ran for president, he said he was going to come and take your guns. Now that he's running for governor in Texas, he's changed his tune and said, "Oh, he doesn't want to take anything away." Do you believe that? No. You're so smart. People from Duncanville are so smart. Anyway, don't worry, because I signed more than 20 laws protecting your Second Amendment rights, including a law making Texas a constitutional carry state. And a law making Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state. So listen, let me just close by saying this. There's a lot we could talk about, but the most important thing I want to leave you with is this. The people in this room are incredibly patriotic. You know for a fact that the United States of America is the greatest nation in the history of the entire world. You love our country. And I'll tell you this, as much as some of you love our country, I got a feeling there may be some people in this room who may love Texas even more. Here's what you need to know. This is what you need to know to spur you to make sure you go cast your vote. And that is, there are people running for election this year who do not love America the way you love America, who do not think Texas is the greatest state in the nation. They want to redesign the future of the state of Texas and America to make it look more like their socialistic agenda. And you know what? We are not going to let that happen to the Lone Star State. We're going to work together. We're going to fight together, and we are going to vote together to keep. We will continue to vote to keep Texas the #1 state in the greatest nation in the history of the world. God bless you all, and God bless Texas.